Welcome to Terrapin Station, the home of baby tortoises. Our tortoises are now sunning themselves a bit after having eaten the first part of their breakfast of clover, dandelion with leaves, a few peppers, everything liberally sprinkled with calcium in the form of crushed eggshell. Our tortoises are 6 months old. We found them as hatchlings outside, which were laid just before the end of the summer season as the fall started to cool down. The normal habit of tortoises, Mediterranean land tortoises in the wild, is to hibernate throughout the winter months. However, we chose to house them inside through the winter for fear that they wouldn't be able to survive the winter outside, having been born so close before the beginning of the winter and not having learned how to eat yet. They have to have a lot of calcium for their shell growth and bone growth. They eat a lot more now than they did when they were born. They have interesting habits, the tortoises, and we find that they have some individual habits of their own. For example, each of these two has some different tastes, foods that they prefer more than the other. We'll give you a little tour now of their living area. Over here, this little garage is a kind of a hiding place for them to hide out when they feel like being in the shade. Although most of the time they're basking in artificial sunlight provided by this high ultraviolet growing lamp, blue spectrum spotlight, which they sit under and sun themselves under in order to create vitamin D3 for the sake of their shell growth. They eat lots of calcium. We save all of our eggshells and crush them up very fine and sprinkle it over their food when it's wet. And like this they get plenty of extra calcium. It gets stuck on their heads a bit. They don't seem to mind. Now the large one has already tried to bury himself. When they've had enough of being out in the world, they look for places to hide and dig themselves under, burying themselves in the straw, sometimes so successfully that we really don't know where they are. The Mediterranean tortoises don't show signs of gender until 7 to 10 years old. It's impossible to know yet whether they're a male or a female, although we'd like to guess that the larger one will be a female and the smaller one a male, which is usually the case. Also, the littler one here seems a little bit more active. After the other one goes to retire after eating a certain amount of food, the smaller one continues to prowl around and see what he can do, what he can find. Temperature conditions are very important for the Mediterranean tortoises. If they get too cold, their reflex to hibernate will set in and they'll be very inactive and generally go under. They have to be kept warm and kept well lit if they're to be active and to... We basically fooled them into thinking that the winter was summer. Hopefully next winter They'll be outside in the gardens here with other larger tortoises that did go and hibernate for the winter. Their mother, whom we call Chippo, because of a series of chips on her shell, which may have come from some kind of a fall or other accident, she laid the eggs adjacent to our garden. We had been feeding her through last summer, and her friend Goldie as well, a much more golden color tortoise, possibly of the Egyptian or desert type variety. We believe these to be the regular Mediterranean land tortoise or spur-thighed tortoise. There are a number of different subspecies. These are probably the one called Testudo greca terrestris, which is the Greek land tortoise. But this type is found here in Israel, where we live. The mother tortoise may wait as much as 2 or 3 years to lay her eggs, carrying them around inside her ready to be laid, while searching for a suitable place to lay them. The Mediterranean tortoises are completely vegetarian. They don't eat any meat or protein things at all. Only green leaves, weeds, dandelions. They like some vegetable items such as peppers, cucumbers. You'll see the large tortoises now stepping into the pond. They have a little swimming pool where they can go in to wade in there or to take a drink. And contrary to some opinions, the tortoises do like to take an occasional drink. The smaller one regularly visits the little pond, which we change the water and keep fresh, warm water in the pond all the time. And the little one will go over there after he's done eating and take a sip of drink. Sometimes we find them standing in there bathing in the water. Although in the wild they don't get much access to water and it doesn't seem they need to drink much, it can be that living in a heated and spot-lit tank causes them to dry out a bit more than usual, and they like to have a little bit of extra water besides that which is supplied in their food. They have some clovers now and some dandelions and leaves from outside, weed leaves that they enjoy. They also like romaine lettuce. They love a steamed green bean, which they always eat enthusiastically. The tortoises are born with everything they need to function in the wild. The mother does not provide care for her young. After the eggs are hatched, they're on their own, but they instinctively know what to do. We felt they would enjoy the winter inside. Maybe too big a challenge for them so soon after they were born to start digging their way under to bury themselves to hibernate. And they've had a very happy winter, gaining a lot of strength in their bones and shells. And eventually we plan to return them outside to their natural habitat